Robin Miller, RACER.com, JR Hildebrand, race driver, Dan Gurney, happy birthday, number 83 today. JR, first of all, I've been to 38 straight of these, and that was about as dramatic as I've seen because it looks like it's Ryan's, and then you're thinking maybe Newgarden's going to sneak in and take it, and of course then they're all gone by the end. Conway passes Willpower basically to get the victory. Just in terms of you've been coming here as a driver and as a fan, your impressions about as dramatic as this race was.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's this race event tends to have some incidents as we go along. There's a lot of places where, if you're 6 inches off, that's a big deal. It's become increasingly difficult, I think, to pass going into turn 1 here. But I think over the years, guys have gotten a lot more used to having to stick those passes in elsewhere. So you saw that today, and you saw that go south a lot today. So I'm not particularly surprised there ended up being as many incidents as there were. I was a little surprised with the guys that ended up having those incidents, to be totally honest with you. It was a lot of guys up front, which is not typically how it goes down.
Let's put you, first of all, in Ryan Hunter-Reay's seat, and then in Newgarden's seat.
I mean, if you're Ryan Hunter-Reay, I think he committed early to, I'm going by Newgarden coming out of the fountain, and just didn't get anywhere, as far as I was concerned, didn't get anywhere near close enough to pull that off and make it happen. I think that's unfortunately on him. I raced here in the ALMS race a few years ago, stuffed a pass on a guy there. It's not totally ridiculous to think that you might be able to catch somebody off guard, but I think Newgarden was a little bit too aware that maybe he was going to try that, and it just ended up making for a closing gap. From Newgarden's perspective, I don't think he got anything, it's not going, if it had been going into the next corner and he didn't make any effort to make a real block on him, you might kind of think in hindsight that was on him to have been anticipating that a little bit more. I don't think there's any way that you really could have anticipated him trying to stuff it in right there. So a real bummer for him. I was looking forward to seeing him really fight it out for the podium with those guys. He's due for a good event. So a bummer for that to not be his problem really there.
But the upside is it turned out to be a really good human interest, feel-good story all the way around. We had an American car owner, Ed Carpenter, your car owner in May, and I think it's kind of cool. He hired Mike Conway to do the road courses and street courses this year. You got to put your ego away and say, look, I've made leaps and bounds as a driver on road courses, but I'm never going to be quite as fast as these guys who grew up doing it. And the fact that he hired Mike Conway to drive the road courses and street courses, he hired you to run the Indy 500, I think that's pretty good karma, and it came back and it paid off today.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ed has just been, he's super humble. He's been so easy to work with. And you can see that across the board with the people that he's hired, where he has people in place, how he's been slowly growing his team. He's doing things the right way. And I think that's been really interesting to see that now being a little bit more on the inside and seeing how well all of these guys kind of just get to it. They do their job, and, they came out with a fantastic role. And, big ups to Mike. I mean, he was in here earlier talking about, how close it was in qualifying and how that you normally, if you're out qualifying outside the top 10 or 15, or top 10 or 12, you're in for a long day. And he just kept plugging away, and they didn't make any dumb mistakes. The law of averages are the law of averages for a reason. You kind of stay on the strategy you're supposed to be on, and that ends up working out more often than not. So they all just did an awesome job.
Well, it's a good omen to go into the month of May for the team that won a race like this. And the fact is that they already got some chemistry going. So good props to them and good luck to you, but you didn't have to bring anything but your helmet. I like that the most.
Yeah, no, I tell you what, I mean, and that's been what Ed's been trying to make this into from, last June or July, was we want to put you in the car, we want to hire you to put you in the car, and we want to build this into something that, we'd be looking at 2 cars full time in 2015 potentially. So, we'll see where it goes.
All right, JR, thanks for the time. David Malsher's up next. Robin Miller for RACER.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks to JR Hildebrand. David Malsher, editor, RACER Magazine, and RACER.com. Davey, just one of those races that you just kind of, your jaw drops open, and you're like, well, I thought this guy was going to win, and then it was going to be him, and at the end, I didn't see that one happen. And so, I mean, in a way, people say, well, it's kind of typical of Long Beach. No, I've been here 38 years, and I saw Mario and Allenser Jr. just make this a yawner, but it was anything but that today.
It was truly intriguing, without doubt. Obviously, the incident that's going to capture everyone's attention was the one where Newgarden, tried to hold off Ryan Hunter-Reay, and it ended up with the two of the finest American drivers in the world hitting each other and going into the wall, which was massively unfortunate. You know, I think Ryan actually had the capability of turning this into an Al Unser Jr. style snoozer, but ultimately, you know, Hinch could have chased him down. I mean, without doubt, he was pressing him hard, and I think that's why Hunter-Reay had that urgency to go past Newgarden. But yeah, I mean, there were several instances like that. You know, the Power-Pagenaud collision. There was obviously Dixie having to stop with two laps to go. Yeah, it was I think it was a typical Long Beach intrigue race.
Here's the thing, as Marshall Pruitt said before we started this, it was two races. It was Andretti kicking butt and Honda running 1, 2, 3, and 9 through 12 halfway through the race, and Chevrolet was nowhere, and Chevrolet ends up 1-2. And there's probably going to be some suicides at HPD Monday and Tuesday. Hopefully not. We like those people. But the most important thing is that I just think I like the fact that, you know, Hunter-Reay said, well, you know, I'll get blamed for it. It was probably my fault, but I'm a race driver, and he kind of spun the tires, and it was pretty wide, and I went for it. And Newgarden said, it's a shame that it happened. I feel bad for him because he drove a hell of a race and led a lot of laps. I feel bad for our team because Sarah and Wink have put a lot into this deal, and I just think, you know, it was a racing crash, and it could have, you know, even Hinch said, I wish Ryan would have just been a little more patient because he's going to get him on the very next corner.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, but I also don't. It's really hard to apportion blame there. If you're a race car driver, you got to go for a gap. If you're a race leader, you got to defend your position. So yeah, I mean, maybe Newgarden didn't check his mirrors quite as thoroughly as he should have done, but then again, maybe he wasn't expecting Ryan to try there. But then again, that's exactly why Ryan tried there.
Let's go to Mike Conway. Terribly impressive last year. Shows up at Detroit, introduces himself to everybody at Dale Coyne Racing on Friday, kicks everybody's butt on Saturday, back on the podium on Sunday. Second race for Ed Carpenter. He should have been on the podium at St. Pete, missed the pit in. He'd be the point leader right now, which if you stop and think about it, a third and a first is pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I was going to hire a part-timer, he'd be my choice every time for the road and street courses, and equally Ed would be my choice of part-timer for the oval courses. The fact that that ideal scenario has come to pass specifically because Ed wanted it to come to pass is just brilliant. I mean, we have a real Cinderella story here again, just like we did last time Conway won. And I think that's great and very fitting on the 40th, you know, Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. That's awesome.
Let's give some props. Newgarden, he had a hell of a car all weekend and should have finished no worse than third. It's unfortunate he didn't make it to the end. Jack Hawksworth has just dazzled everybody. Carlos Munoz was on the podium today. Another good run. Aloshin did a hell of a job. There's no wankers in the series anymore, and these young guys are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Munoz, you know, what he did in Toronto last year where he stood in for Briscoe in Panther was great because, I mean, he only got the call up 24 hours to go. But I think he still needed to prove himself a bit more in the big cars. Well, now he's got, a big car that's also with a big team. And hell, he's holding his own in Andretti Autosport, which is overrun with talent. So, yeah, great job by Munoz. You know, the fact that he was able to, I mean, he wasn't able to really make a serious pass attempt on Power, but he was able to hold off another Penske driven by Montoya, who's...
He grew up being his hero, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is a really proud moment for Munoz. I'm really happy for him that he's come in and proved yet again that another Indy Lights graduate is... worthy of moving up. And, Hawksworth, same deal. I've got to eat humble pie a bit here because I really didn't expect him to be as strong as he's been. But he's just very bold, and until he has a big accident, he's going to remain a thorn in the side of everyone because he's just going to be, bring it on, guys.
The other thing, in closing, just the fact that Penske and Ganassi didn't qualify in the top 6. They didn't win this race. And and it's probably the most competitive. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say, you know, everybody wants to get carried away. Oh, this is the most competitive. I think it was 20 cars within 0.7 of a second. And you make a mistake, you lose 0.2, you're going to start 18th. You make a good lap, you're going to start 8th. And I just think the race played out the same way. A lot of passing, reds going off, blacks weren't that great. It was just a really good race to watch.
Yeah, it was fascinating to watch, but I also think that the kind of weird surface changes around here also make it good to even just watch one car, because the car's moving around a bit. It looks a difficult beast to carry, and that's exactly what you want from any series.
Last but not least, the new RACER magazine's on the stand. It's a Heroes issue. Great stories about Al Holbert, Alex Zanardi, John Surtees. And if you buy this magazine, David Malsher,
you also get the Tudor United Sports Car Championship book, which is a thick, glossy, additional package. I think it's got as many pages as RACER has, and it's all part of the same package, so get it on your shelves now.
Me and him, David Malsher, Robin Miller, we're going to do some commentaries on Monday and Tuesday. The mailbag's on Wednesday. Marshall Pruitt's overview will be on probably Wednesday or Friday. His technical mailbag will be on Thursday. Nobody covers IndyCar like RACER.com. Thanks for watching.